and welcome to Learn Free Music Theory lesson number 27. So in this lesson we're going to be covering kind of a whole bunch of accessories to the rhythm that I taught you in the first level. So in the first level we went over a whole bunch of rhythm stuff, and that laid a huge foundation for your rhythm and how to draw rests and everything like that. And now what I'm going to be doing is less huge and more kind of micro. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be filling in little details of like irregular note grouping patterns and extra time signatures and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, but just little extra tidbits of information so that you guys have a bit more understanding with your rhythm. So that's going to be the focus of this lesson. So it shouldn't be too hard to grasp, I don't think. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're just going to add in really quick is new notes and new rests. They're really not that hard to grasp, so I just want you to take a quick look and then we'll move along really quick. So we had whole notes, half notes, we had quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and now below the next one is a 32nd note, then after that is the 64th note, and then after that the final one is the 128th note. Now, I've only ever seen 128th notes like once, so they're not something that you see very common. Like, I've seen them in other pieces, but I've only actually played one piece where I've even had to use a 128th note. They're not exactly that common, okay? You don't see them all over the place, unless you're playing a lot of modern music and they might do something weird with like the meter and whatever. But anyway, okay, so now we have notes and rests. So rests it looks basically the same. It's what's so easy about this is if you know how to draw a 16th note or a 16th rest or even an 8th note or an 8th rest, it's pretty much exactly the same. The only thing you're doing is you're just adding another tail or another bar or another one of these little, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what they are. They're like little U's with a little ball thing at the whatever. But yeah, I don't know, maybe they're like this new genetically modified wheat. I don't know. So here we have this, and it has 3 tails, and here it has 4 tails, and here it has 5 tails. Here it has 3 lines, here it has 4 lines, here it has 5 lines, joining them all together. This is like a single note, it's a single 30-second note. And this is a group of 30-second notes. I'm just writing 3 for whatever's sake. It's not that they have to be in 3s. They can be in really any number of them. Generally, you're going to see them in big numbers because they want you to play a whole bunch of them really quickly. Okay, so 128th notes right there. So I have a quick question. How many 128th notes does it take to make one whole note? What's that? Did I hear someone say it takes 128 of them? Oh, you're right. Yes, that is correct. It takes 128th notes to make one whole note. Okay? So yeah, anyway, it's always doubling. So it takes 2 30-second notes to make a 16th note. It takes 2 64th notes to make one 30-second note. It takes 2 128th notes to make one 64th note. Okay? And same thing with the rests. Okay? So there you go. Okay, now I'm not really sure how much I ever explained about dots because it was back in January when I did that, and now it is May. So I can't really remember, so I'm just going to do a really quick recap on dots. Also, it can probably refresh your mind too. So dots. Whenever you have a dotted note, it adds 50% of the value of the note to it. Okay? So, example, if you have a half note, 100% of a half note's value is 2 beats. So a dot added to it is adding another 50%. So now it's 150% of its value. In other words, just take the value of the note, take it in half, and then whatever you're left with, add that to it. So what's half of 2? 1. So what's 1 plus 2? 3. Yay! Okay, so now let's just use another example so we got the idea. So 100% of a quarter note's value is 1. Okay, well, what's half of 1? 1/2. So 150%, so 1 plus a half is 1.5. So now a dotted quarter note is 1.5 beats. Ta-da! Done. So that's dots. It's the same for every other note. So you just take its value, add 50% to it. That's it. Okay? Good. Okay, now, the next thing is we covered the triplet in the last level, but this time I'm going to just add a little bit more information, just so you guys know. Triplets are always, triplets are usually in simple time. They're not usually found in compound time, mainly because everything's grouped in threes in compound time. So, here we have a triplet with 3 quarter notes. Now, how you know how much those 3 quarter notes are worth is basically take one away from it. Just take away that one, and then boom, you've got your total amount, okay? Now, same thing with this. You take this away, so 2/8 notes is worth that, a quarter note, okay? Now, like two quarter notes are going to be worth a half note, 2/8 notes are going to be worth a quarter note. You could just write, 2/8 notes over here. That would be fine. Like, I could do this. And that would be true. Okay? That's totally acceptable as well. That's the same amount of time. Now, you can have rests inside a triplet. So for example, you can have a 1 beat, and then you could have 2 rests inside the triplet, and then that would still equal the same amount, as long as it's equaling the same distance. And vice versa, you could have the note in the middle with a rest on either side, or you could have 2 rests and then a note, or you could have 2 notes when 1 rest, or lots of different combinations there. And so usually if you're trying to play it or clap it, it's best to kind of like feel it. So like, like a blueberry, and then only clap on the 1. So it's like blueberry, or blueberry, like that. And just say it in your head, and then come in and clap on the ones where you're supposed to. Now, here you can actually mix up the rhythm a little bit. So here, there's a dot on the 8th note, and there's a 16th here. So we know that when you see this beat right here is longer and this one is shorter. So it's almost like this beat has stolen time from this one, right? So it's like dun, dun, dun. And it's the same principle. You basically count through the blueberry and then you just clap through it. And basically, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. All that, it pretty much equals what it shows there. And so when you're writing it out and you see those in groups of 3, always look at, just equalize this out into 3/8 notes, and okay, 3/8 note is like that, and simplify it down, right? Always try to simplify it down. So that's for simple time modifications to the triplet, which we covered before. And now we're going to introduce some irregular note groupings for compound time. So let's get into that. Okay, now for compound time, so some 2 basic note grouping patterns are, we have the duplet and the quadruplet, okay? Right there, the 2 and the 4. Now, you'll notice that it's almost like kind of weird to look at this because they both have, one has 4 notes, the other has 2 notes, and they're both equaling the same note value. What the heck is up with that? Why? Well, okay, I drew this example below. So there's 6/8 time signature, so that means the 8th note counts as 1 beat. So if we were going through this, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So this is kind of like the halfway point. And so whenever we're in compound time, it's always groups of 3 notes. So since the beat of each note is an 8th note, it's through groups of 3 8th notes. So we have 2 groups of 3 8th notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because there's 3 8th notes in that one beat right there. Here, I have the duplet coming in. Now, what you'll notice is that they take up the same slot in time. Because look, here, a duplet counts as one of these, a dotted quarter note, okay? Now, right here, it's taking up that space. So in other words, the reason why they both take up the same amount of space is it's kind of like an interchangeable, very convenient allotment of time. So it's very easy to stay on beat and come in on the next one without screwing everything up. And it still sounds kind of funky and cool. So because everything's going strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, right? So it's strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. So when you throw this in, your strong beat's going to be here, and then it's going to come in the middle, okay? So you're going to just try to play those two notes evenly in the three beats, and then come in on the strong beat again. So a great way to do this is, if you're having a problem playing it, is turn on your metronome and have it going for one of these. So go click, click. So it's one, so strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. So it's only clicking on the strongs. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then for this, then play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's coming in the middle, but you're going to hear the beat and then just play those two notes evenly before the next one. So it's actually going to sound a lot like simple time. Just like if you're going, it's kind of hard to count and play, but say you've got, or count and clap, but say you've got a click on the 1 and then on the 2, and you go 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 2. Sort of the same idea with this, okay? Because you're only having 2 clicks, but it's in 6/8 time. So hopefully that kind of helps. With the same thing, you just play it 4. So you'd be basically playing 4 notes in the time of 1 click, which is a lot like playing a 16th note. So it's just 4 equal clicks in that time allotment. Where it does get tricky though is if you have in another hand, say you're playing piano, and in the other hand you have a group of 3 notes, and now you have something called a polyrhythm. So now you have, something where it's a duplet or a triplet, or a duplet or a quadruplet, and then you have 3 notes in the other hand. So now your hands, they sync up on the first note, but then they go out of sync, sort of, and they both have to be played equally, but in different lengths of time, and then they start on the next beat. That's one thing I've never really been so good at teaching. But yeah, anyway. So that is your some of your irregular note groupings, but we're going to go into more. So always remember that if you see this in triplet time, or in, compound time, groups of 3, and say you see a note, always look at what the relative is. So it's basically take whatever you're at. So if you see a group of 16th notes, it's going to be worth a dotted 8th note ahead, right? Because it's just the one next up on the step. Whereas if these were quarter notes here, so a group of 2 quarter notes, it'd be a dotted half note, right? It's just the next one up. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense to you, and I'm going to continue on with a couple more. Okay, so now we have a couple more that we're going to do. Now these ones are for simple time. So before we were doing triplets in simple time, these are other options that you can sometimes see. So there's 5, 6, and 7. Now these are not very prettily drawn out, but they get the idea across, and that's really all that they're meant to draw out there for. Okay, so now with these 3, they can occur only in simple time, and they're always going to come out to this 4. Okay, so whether it's 5, whether it's 6, or it's 7, it's always 4. It counts for the same note value as 4. Okay, so if these were, a group of 16th notes, they're going to be 4 16th notes. If they're groups of 32nd notes, it's 4 32nd notes. If it was 5 quarter notes, it'd be 4 quarter notes. So you could have 7, 6, or 5, and it'd always come up to 4. Okay? And ultimately, 4 16th notes would make 1 quarter note. Okay? So if you see 5 16th notes, 6 or 7, it's just going to be 1 quarter note. It's the same as seeing 4. So if you can remember that simple time, 5, 6, and 7 equal 4. Okay? So memorize that, draw this down, So you have it, because I'm not going to probably be able to draw all this and fit everything onto the homework sheet at the end. Okay, so draw out all these, and if you haven't been memorizing the last charts, I probably should have said to do that. So go back and write down any of the charts that you don't think you can memorize or you're kind of about. These notes are actually really good for if you ever get into a tough jam and you're like, man, I can't really remember, what is it supposed to be? Okay? Because usually you don't see these too often. So what happens is you learn it and then you don't see it very often, and then sometimes it comes up and you're like, oh, how does that supposed to go in? And then you have to go back to your notes and then you're like, oh yeah, right. And then you go from there. But anyway, so that's what, so write down those notes and then you can have them, and then you can go back instead of trying to dig up what video you saw it in at what time, right? It's a lot easier just to do that now. Okay, so that's that. And yeah, let's get going on to the next one. Homework. No. Okay guys, so for your homework, what I want you guys to do is draw 10 4-bar lines. Now for each line, basically pick a time signature, and then what I want you to do is divide it up into 4 bars, and then I want you to draw in rests and add in triplets or quadruplets or whatever, just all the different groups of 7, groups of 2, 5, 7, 6, and try to go crazy and go creative with your, see what you can combine, throw in some dots and see what you can do. Basically just create a royal mess, and then if you want to even try clapping it after and see if that can work. And actually, I'd like to challenge you to, once you've kind of got this down, maybe you can show me a quick little video response of some of the videos, or some of the lines that you've been able to come up with, and show yourself clapping it. So yeah, anyway, so if you want to, that is. I don't know if you really want to or not. But yeah, so draw 10, and what you could do is the first 5, do those in simple time. So simple time is the ones that are basically, like 4/4, 2/4, 2/8, 4/8, 4/16. You could try to get creative with different combinations too. Like you could try some 4/1s. You could do a line of 4/1 if you want to. You can do like 16/4. So there's 16 quarter notes in the beat. Now you also have compound time, right? So those are going to be ones that are divisible by 3. So those will be like 12/4. Those will be like 9/8 or like 9/16. Those are all different time signatures you can use. So try using a whole bunch of different ones. Just get creative. That's the only way you really learn stuff, is just get in there and start doing stuff and experiment, right? So now you know some basics so that you can go and practice those skills. So draw 10 lines and 4 bars for each line. Make sure that it all balances out in the end, and count all your beats and make sure it all adds up. Double check everything. And yeah, if you want to do more and you don't feel good with 10, go along. But it's going to be 40 bars of work, so that should be quite enough. So anyway, so remember those rules that I showed you about how they divvy it up, and basically go nuts and get creative and have some fun with that. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. And this lesson was, if it feels like it was a little bit kind of a lot of information really quick and you're not sure what the purpose of it is, the purpose of this lesson is basically to kind of fill in blanks. Like if people are scratching their head and they're wondering, oh, well, what happens if you see this? Or what if you see this? Or maybe you're looking in something and you don't know how to count it, and you've been looking through rhythm videos, and now this explains it for you. So that's basically what this video is for. It's not really to, I don't know. I think that's pretty simple. Can't really think of how to word it any other differently. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you found some use for it. And if not, it's always good to have in the back of your brain and when something pops up and you see that in the future. Okay, so take care, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Happy practicing.